Hey guys, Weeby Newz here, and today I wanted to make a storytime video about the craziest thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. And that is having the opportunity to interview Kodaka Kazutaka-san and Koizumi Yuichiro-san of 2Kyo Games. Kodaka is obviously my favorite video game developer of all time. I've made it no secret how much I love his projects. And yeah, I also got the chance to talk with Koizumi, who is the new scenario writer for Danganronpa 2x2, and he's written for a lot of other projects that I love, like Danganronpa V3 and 100 Line Last Defense Academy. As someone who's made, I don't know, hundreds of videos over the course of 10 years about their projects, excited was an understatement for how I felt going into this interview. For those of you who don't know me, I created this channel about 10 years ago because after playing Danganronpa, I became just absolutely obsessed with it. At the time when I made my channel, the fandom was way smaller than it is today, so I didn't know anybody who enjoyed the series like I did. So because of this and the fact that I had a lot of experience with video creation, I decided to make this channel. I wanted to create a space where my viewers and I could get excited for upcoming projects together, and where we could discuss and dissect the work that had already been released. Eventually I branched out and started discussing other media that I enjoy and making different types of videos, like reaction videos and let's play videos. But I've always been really proud of this channel's roots, and it's something I never want to abandon. But yeah, getting back to how this all came together, recently in about April of 2025 last year, 2Kyo Games released the 100 Line Last Defense Academy. This is a project they've been working on for a very, very long time, and they've put a lot of time and money into it, so much so that the life of the company hung in the balance of whether or not it was successful. I've been aware of this project for years, and I was super duper excited when it finally dropped. So of course, right after its release, I streamed it on my channel. While streaming the game, I'd say around the summer of 2025, I just absolutely fell in love with it. I fell in love with the characters, the story, and all the different branching paths. I thought it was just so cool and so ambitious. So after falling in love with the game, I got a crazy idea in my head because of that love for it and because of a few other different things. One, 2Kyo Games has been promoting this game a lot because, like I said before, they put so much time and energy and effort into it. The company's success basically rode on whether or not it was successful. Two, I have a trip to Japan already planned with friends coming up in December later this year. And three, although 2Kyo Games does have a lot of really big names attached to it, like Kodaka and Uchikoshi, technically the company itself is small when it comes to the amount of employees it has. There's only 10 employees listed on 2Kyo Games' website, which is a pretty small group. So I thought, if I send an email, maybe somebody will see it. So then I decided, why not just shoot my shot? The worst thing that can happen is either I don't get a reply or they say no, so I might as well try. Once I decided this plan, I got to work and procrastinated writing that email for, I'd say, about 4 to 5 months. In my defense, I was nervous. And also, last year was actually a really insane year for me, personal life-wise. I actually got married in October. Yes, this was the craziest year of my life. And yes, I got a little busy with that. During that time too, Danganronpa 2x2 was announced at Nintendo Direct, and Danganronpa 2x2 is a remake of the original Danganronpa 2, which will also contain a new scenario with the same characters from the original. And yeah, I was a little excited for it, you might say. This announcement slightly changed my approach to this interview. Originally, I was just planning on interviewing Kodaka about 100 Line. I wasn't really planning on asking any questions about Danganronpa, but once this game was announced and it was revealed that Koizumi Yuichiro would be writing the new scenario for 2x2 with Kodaka supervising him, I knew immediately that I would want him to be in the interview as well. There wasn't too much online about Koizumi, besides the fact that he was a writer for Ultra Despair Girls and Danganronpa V3, and that he did some roots for 100 Line. His English IMDb page also states that he was a scenario writer for Danganronpa S, which actually is not true. I brought that up during the interview and they corrected me and said that he actually didn't have any involvement with that game. So I did want to mention that in this video since I think that's a pretty big misconception. I have no idea why his IMDb page isn't correct, since that website is usually really reliable. But yeah, since there wasn't much information about him online, I became really interested in meeting him. I also thought it'd be really cool to hear about his relationship with Kodaka and how they met and how he got his new role in 2x2. So now my new idea for the interview was to mostly discuss 100 Line Last Defense Academy, but also see if I could ask a couple of questions about 2x2 as well. As for how I decided to first approach them, I wanted to make a Japanese email, basically pitching myself and this idea to them. I wasn't really sure if anybody at 2Kyo Games spoke English, and I wanted to be respectful of that. I have been studying Japanese on and off over the past couple of years, but I still have a ways to go. I think my expertise is on par with a 2-year-old if they knew all of the katakana and hiragana alphabet. So yeah, I couldn't really create a coherent Japanese email by stringing together basic Duolingo terms that I've learned over the past 2 years. So I decided to hire a professional to translate translate my email into Japanese. I introduced myself and my channel, explained to them how I was a longtime fan of their games. I really spent a lot of effort trying to make this email sound really polished and professional. And once the email was fully translated into Japanese, I went on Tukio's website and submitted the form. But then something unfortunate happened. You see, once you submit a form on their website, you get a receipt of it sort of saying like, your submission was submitted and here's what it looks like. I got a receipt of mine and it looked like a complete garbled mess. Maybe because it was the English version of the website, but it seemed like the form didn't accept certain Japanese characters. So like a solid 90% of my email was completely unreadable. And so I freaked out. I was like, oh my god, this is my only chance to make a good first impression on them, and I already screwed it up by sending them this like nonsensical email. So in an absolute panic, I very quickly made a new English email saying, hey, I'm so sorry for that garbled mess that I sent you previously. I think there was a technical issue or something. My name is Weeby Newz, I run this YouTube channel, and I'd really love to talk to Kodaka and Koizumi about 100 Line and 2x2. I'll be in Japan during these dates and I'll hire an interpreter for the interview if accepted. Please let me know. So after that, I was thoroughly embarrassed. I was like, oh god, why? There's no way they're replying to my email now. The only one that's even remotely readable is in English, and it's something I like panic typed in the span of 5 minutes. So yeah, I wasn't really expecting anything back. Even though I thoroughly embarrassed myself, I still actually was really proud of myself for putting myself out there. I'm usually too scared to do that type of stuff, so I was happy in that moment to just say that I tried it, you know? And then, maybe like 3 to 5 days later, I was relaxing, playing video games with my husband, and all of a sudden, I received this email. And this email had Tukio Games in the subject line. Not only did they respond, but they said they were interested in me conducting this interview. I was so unbelievably happy. I remember I was just like sprinting around our living room like my cats when they get zoomies. I know I must have looked absolutely insane to my husband, but I did not care. I was like, oh my god, I did it. I got the interview. But yeah, thankfully the person in charge of PR at Tukio Games speaks English and was able to understand my panic email. From there, we just kind of communicated back and forth about what day and time would work best for everybody. And once we decided on an official date, the next step for me was to find an interpreter that could help translate both sides of the interview. I spent some time looking for the perfect candidate, and I found about 10 people I was interested in contacting. I sent them all a vague email, and the first person who responded was Fifi, who I later ended up hiring. She's a Japanese native who is also fluent in English and has done interpretation for gaming events. She was really the perfect fit for this. We talked for a bit about the interview, and once I was pretty sure I wanted to hire her, I sent her my YouTube channel, and I could tell she had a slight idea of who I might be interviewing since she asked right afterwards. And so of course I replied, and I was like, Kodaka Kazutaka and Koizumi Yuichiro of Tukio Games. And she replied and she was like, oh my god, I had a feeling that's who it was. And then she told me about how her husband is a huge fan of Kodaka's works. The Danganronpa series is one of his favorite video games, and he's beaten all 100 endings of 100 Line Last Defense Academy, which if you've played the game, you know is quite the feat. For reference, I have about 160 hours in the game and I have 41 endings. So yeah, it takes a lot of dedication to beat that game. But yeah, after she mentioned that, it really felt like fate. She's in the field, she's familiar with Tukio's work, and her husband can help her with any like specific 100 line terms that she might not be familiar with. Plus, as a fellow fan, I was able to get him the opportunity to meet Kodaka and Koizumi as well, which just ended up being really wholesome, especially because before this, he was trying to get a ticket to the Danganronpa 15th anniversary event, but wasn't able to. So it was really cool that he was able to meet them here instead. After that, all the prep work was finished, besides finalizing the interview questions, which I finished on the airplane ride to Japan because I was so incredibly busy covering the 2x2 anniversary event during the days leading up to the trip. Thank God for free Wi-Fi. And then once landing in Japan, I had about 2 full days to prepare for the interview. The first full day, we did a lot. In the morning, we went to Shibuya to check out the iconic sites like the Scramble and the Hachiko statue. And of course, we also wanted to visit some anime, manga, gaming stores like the Jump Store, Pokemon Center, Capcom Store, etc. After that, we went to a stationery store. I got gifts for Kodaka, Koizumi, the PR representative, and Fifi, and I really needed something cute to wrap the gifts in. In Japanese culture, giving gifts is pretty common, ramen. It's a good way to express gratitude and respect for the other person. I really wanted them to know how grateful I was for this opportunity, and I was a bit worried that my words wouldn't be enough, especially with the language barrier. So I felt like giving them a gift would be a great way to express that gratitude in like an actual tangible physical form. As for the gifts themselves, I wanted to give them a mixture of American and Japanese snacks, and one thing 100 Line Last Defense Academy related, since that would be the main topic of the interview. I wanted to give them mostly snacks because firstly, they're consumable, so they won't have to worry about finding a place to put them. It won't end up becoming like clutter that stresses them out, and they're shareable as well. So I figured it might be something fun for them to try with their colleagues. Thankfully, we had the perfect Costco-sized mixed candy bag that would be ideal for this occasion, except we only remembered that fact when we were about 2,000 miles away from home. Like I said, I was busy during the days leading up to this trip, and so I just kind of thought we could buy the snacks at the airport on the way there, and thankfully it did end up working out. We thankfully found this candy store that had basically every American candy you can imagine. So, crisis averted. We ended up getting them Pop Rocks, since we felt like that was an iconic American candy experience, and we also got the Moreheads because we thought it might be something kind of fun to try with friends. We did make sure to warn them too before we gave them the candy that that one's not really supposed to taste good. It's just supposed to be kind of like a fun thing you can dare your friends to try. And then finally we got them some Starburst because apparently they don't have Starburst in Japan. And I feel like everybody loves Starburst. But yeah, since we had the American snacks covered by the time we reached Japan, now we just need to get some Japanese snacks and one piece of 100 Line merch that would be small but thoughtful. I decided to head to Ikebukuro to look for merch because that's my personal favorite spot to get Danganronpa merch. Also, last time I had gone to Japan, there was a specific store that I really loved that specialized specifically in visual novel game merch. When I'd gone before, they had a ton of Ace Attorney merch, Danganronpa merch, Raincoat merch. I was like in heaven. So I felt like it would be my best shot to find some unique 100 Line merch that I could get them. Also, you know, maybe I could do just like a little bit of shopping for myself while I'm there. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed with the amount of 100 Line merch that they had there. I think Raincoat had like double the amount of merch 100 Line did when I went there the previous year. But with that being said, there was still a decent amount of stuff to choose from. Besides Edo. There was nothing Edo there except for one postcard worth $20 USD, which was honestly hilarious because almost every other postcard there was worth like less than $1 USD. And of course I bought him. Why wouldn't I? I have no self-control. My boy's too popular, man. It just kind of cracks me up that I bought them out of the only Edo Atsuki merch that they had. Like they were literally sold out after I bought this. And like I said, I mostly came here to buy gifts for Tokyo Games and Fifi. But you know, I had to do a little bit of shopping for myself while I was there. I ended up getting a Takumi acrylic stand. He just looks so happy and goofy. It reminds me of that one Head Empty sprite that he has right before he does something really stupid. And that's my favorite sprite. And this was the closest thing they had to it, so I had to get it. They also had a lot of Danganronpa merch there as well. I got these two Sanrio Danganronpa collab acrylic stands, one Chiaki one and one Komaeda one. Kind of scared to take any of this stuff out because I don't want it to get harmed. It's like I want to enjoy it, but I also want to like preserve it, you know what I mean? I also got these two Komaeda keychains and a Kaide keychain. There's also this Kibo pin that I just love so much. Look at him, dude. He's having a picnic with his little robot toys. It's so freaking adorable. I've always really loved Danganronpa's collabs with graph art, so I wanted to get as many as I could of my favorite characters. They also had some really kind of weird merch there too. You could buy Jin Kirigiri's skull and like the rocket ship that killed him. I honestly thought it was like his urn for a second. I was like, why can you buy Jin Kirigiri's ashes? But then I was like, oh wait, I think that might be the rocket ship in the first execution and like the prologue. That makes sense. It was just so funny to me. Like every other character I was like, you can get pins of and keychains or plushies. And then Jin Kirigiri, the only thing you can get of him is like his remains. So even something for you, Jin Kirigiri stands. Another really funny thing about shopping in Ikebukuro is the fact that they have dynamic pricing. And basically that means the price is based off of the demand for that character, which is why my Edo Atsuki postcard was $20 USD, while the one of Takumi and Shoma in the bathhouse is worth 70 cents. But the differences were even funnier with the Danganronpa characters. You could really tell who the fans don't fuck with based off of the prices. I don't think they had anything there Teru related that was worth more than $1 USD. But then on the other hand, you have like a Chiaki pin worth like almost $500 USD. And no, I did not get the Chiaki pin. I was tempted though. After sufficiently draining my bank account, I decided what gifts I would give to everyone. They had a ton of 100-line postcards, so I decided I would buy one for each person and write a personalized note on the back to express my gratitude for the opportunity. While I was shopping too, there was this idol group like doing a performance at the mall as well, and they were really good. Slay Kings. Slight side note, for the Japanese snacks, everything was pretty easy to get for the most part. We got them these Hokkaido cookies that our friend who visits Japan often gets for us whenever he comes home. And we also got them some flavored Kit Kat bars and some rice cracker snacks. The first rice crackers we got were these wasabi flavored ones though. I usually really like spicy stuff and I thought it'd be nice to include, but me, my husband, and my friend tried these and it truly felt like it was trying to kill us. It was the type of spice that just goes straight to your nose and is painful. So yeah, we decided to replace these with lightly salted rice crackers instead, so they didn't think we were trying to kill them. I also really wish I would have thought of this before we left, but one of my friends had bought these Sanrio Texas collab plushies at the Kinokuniya near where we live, and he bought them as a gift for some of his friends who live in Japan. And once he brought them out, I was just so mad at myself for forgetting that those existed. I felt like it would have been a perfect gift to include in the basket. I just remember seeing those plushies months ago and thinking, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. When would this be a necessary gift? But I literally found the perfect opportunity to buy it. So if given the chance to interview them again, I will definitely get them those silly Sanrio Texas collab plushies. But yeah, once we had officially purchased everything, we were ready to start putting it all together. So I spent the night diligently wrapping everything and making it look pretty. And now it's the day of the interview. And I am nervous beyond all reason. I kept rereading the questions to try my best to memorize as much as possible. I'd never done an interview before, so I wasn't sure if it was rude to directly read the questions off of the notebook. And I also really didn't want to just bury my head in the notebook out of nerves, which I knew I would be really tempted to do. But yeah, the whole train ride, I was just obsessively reading over the questions. I even accidentally got off on the wrong stop because I was so nervous and scatterbrained. Thankfully, we still had plenty of time. We finally arrived at the right station and met up with Fifi and her husband, and then we all walked to Tokyo Games together. Once we got there, we had to wait a little bit for someone to let us in. So while I waited, Fifi and I exchanged gifts. And the gift she gave me was so amazing, dude. She gave me these two Ado pins and this acrylic Ado stand from 100 Lines collab with Tower Records. This is a limited run merch. And like I said before, Ado was kind of hard to come by so far for me because he's so popular. So when I saw this, I was just floored and so thankful. After that, we waited for a little bit longer. And I remember just stopping and thinking to myself, how crazy this whole situation was. In a weird way, I kept expecting it to not be real. I was expecting somebody to pop up out of the bushes and tell me that it was a prank, but it was real. And once they let us inside, it hit me that I was really, truly there. I was shook. I was just completely surrounded by unfathomable amounts of merch from Danganronpa, 100 Line, Raincode, Akudama Drive, Student Order, etc. That's when I was oh yeah, no, I'm really here. This is actually happening. We took some videos and pictures in the common area after we finished the interview, which I'll show now. And this area was the place that we were allowed to film in, and it's where most of the merch was and where we conducted the interview. My favorite piece of merch was this adorable Kokichi plush that greeted us right when we walked in. He had such big sparkly eyes and he was just so freaking adorable. Kokichi's one of my favorites too, so seeing him right when I walked in was just heartwarming, because he's such a heartwarming character. They also had a whole shelf of figurines, which you can see behind us during the interview. And being the hardcore fan I am, I recognized a lot of them from when they were first announced and dropped. I'm not even really into figurines that much, but I remember being so tempted to get these Kaede and Chiaki ones. So seeing them in person was really, really cool. I also really love this figurine of Shinigami from Raincode. They also had this 100 Line wall, which was huge and so neat to look at. It had a ton of different signatures and notes on it. I'm not totally sure if they were from the developers or fans or a mixture of both, but they were really fun to look over, especially because a lot of them added little fan art pieces of Seide or other characters along with their notes. My husband even pointed out Kodaka's signature on the wall, since he always does the swirl with it. Obviously though, the person I saw the most merch of was Monokuma. There were Monokumas everywhere. Small ones, large ones, funny looking ones. My favorite was the Royal Monokuma you can see in the background between Kodaka and I during the interview. He's just so dignified. I feel like it's very Monokuma to like be front and center in an interview about 100 Line, trying to still make it about himself, dressed like the prince that he is. And although I am giving a really detailed description of the merch right now, I'd like to clarify that we weren't really looking around too much when we first got there. We really only looked at everything in detail after the interview. When we first walked in, I introduced myself to Koizumi. I got to hit him with the hajime mashite, which I doubt he was impressed by, but I was really proud of myself for saying a Japanese sentence in the correct context. I was practicing that for like a month in the mirror leading up to this, so I was just like, in my brain. Kodaka wasn't there though yet, so after introducing ourselves to Koizumi, my husband and I went straight to setting up the equipment. I really wanted my first impression to be professional, so I worried that if I walked in and I just started like gawking and fangirling at all the merch, that I'd leave a bad impression. I knew that they knew I was a big fan, but I wanted to make it clear that I knew I was going there with like a job to do, and I wanted to respect their time since I wasn't sure how busy the rest of their day was. So yeah, we started setting up everything, and something to note here is that we had way more camera equipment than I am used to working with. I usually just use the same setup in my room every day by myself, so I never have to worry about like lighting differences, color correction, multiple camera angles, multiple microphones. So yeah, it's a lot to keep up with, which is another reason why I want to start setting up like ASAP. And thankfully I do have experience doing some of this stuff because I majored in media arts and I took film classes, but it had been a while, so I was a little rusty. Also, my sound and video guy for this was my husband, whom I love with all my heart and soul, but he knows nothing about film. Another thing to kind of note here is that, like I said, he was my camera and sound guy, but my husband is half deaf, and we had 4 microphones, so he had to keep switching the headphones in and out of his one working ear. I remember at one point he came up to me and he was like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this job, but honestly, he did a really great job. He's one of those people that once he puts his mind to something, he can be good at anything. But getting back on track, like I said, we were setting up. And of course, one of the first things you do when you set up is put your camera on your tripod. And like I said, your girl was nervous. So I put my camera on the tripod, didn't fasten it, and watched it fall like 4 feet directly to the hardwood floor. It was so loud. Everyone in the room heard it. I think I even heard a gasp right when it hit the floor. I was mortified. I was like, so much for looking professional. So yeah, I was firstly horrified because of the embarrassment, but also because if you work with cameras, you know that they are very, very sensitive. One drop can be a death sentence. So I picked it up, turned it on, it started fidgeting, and then a screen popped up. Cannot detect lens properly. We only had 2 cameras, which I was able to finesse into looking like 4 by recording in 4K and then compressing the video down to 1080p. And if I only had 1 camera, I could still record the interview, but at best, I could try to maybe turn it into like 2 angles, which would look way too boring for a 30-minute interview. So it was pretty imperative I got the second camera to start working again. So I just kept frantically turning it on, then off, until it finally turned on properly. I pressed record so that it wouldn't auto shut off, and I told my husband, please make sure that this camera does not stop recording and that it does not auto shut off. So now we have a random recording on our PC, but it worked. And that's the important part. The camera survived the interview, thank God. And then Kodaka walked in and sat down on the couch. We were not even close to being ready. So my husband and I looked at each other and telepathically shared a word. Fuck! Another thing to add is that Kodaka has so much aura. He's way taller than me, and he dresses in this really cool, like, punk rock Harajuku fashion. And you know, he's also Mr. 100 Line, Mr. Danganronpa. I was intimidated. We were both understandably freaking out. So yeah, we started rushing like crazy to get everything set up and ready to go. We were like, we cannot keep Kodaka Kazutaka waiting on us. I got Kodaka and Koizumi mic'd up immediately while my husband set up the rest of the equipment, and then we were ready to go. Practically sweating bullets, I began the intro. Hey guys, Weeby Newz here. I could not believe I was saying that sentence in 2 Kyo games. And it's probably obvious in the interview, but I was ridiculously nervous, especially during the introduction. When recording in my room, I usually do like multiple takes of my introduction and just use the best one. But here, I have 6 other people watching me. One of them is literally my favorite game developer of all time. So I really didn't want to mess up and have to start over from the beginning. I just felt like that would be so embarrassing. thing. I ended up not doing any multiple takes at all, which is probably kind of obvious with how many and likes and word stumbles I have in the video, but it just feels so unnatural to completely do a retake while you're in front of people, so I just stuck with it. And like I said at the beginning of the interview, I was extremely nervous, but over time I did start relaxing, especially when it seemed like they were enjoying themselves while answering the questions. And so after that, I was able to enjoy the conversation as well. It was really interesting hearing about the creation of 100 Line. I especially loved hearing about how the cult of Takumi route came together, since if you've played that route, you know it's a little silly goofy. I was so surprised too when he started talking about the future of 100 Line. On Twitter, I've noticed among 100 Line fans that there's a meme where people hope that 100 Line will eventually become 1000 Line. Like one day it'll have 1000 endings from all the DLCs added. So to hear him say that he wants 400 Line was crazy to me. I was like, oh my god. 1000 Line might end up being real. I was really excited to hear that they were interested in making an anime for 100 Line too, and the fact that there might even be a Netflix live action version is both exciting and a little bit terrifying. It was also really cool to hear about how Kodaka and Koizumi met and how they came to the decision to make Koizumi the scenario writer for the new 2x2 route. Seeing how well they get along and how much Kodaka believes in Koizumi's writing really made me feel confident that 2x2 will be a great Danganronpa game. Another funny thing that happened during the interview is that my husband tripped at one point while we were recording. He was backed into a corner with all the camera equipment and was in a pretty awkward position because of it. Admittedly, it was my fault. I don't know why. I was really dead set on having the full 100 Line sign in frame, and because I wanted it in frame, ended up making him have to back up all the way into the corner to include it. I ended up zooming in on like the wide shot anyway, so it made it completely pointless that he was backed into that corner, which I feel really bad about. I think I was just stressed, and for some reason I was like, we need the full sign. Look at it, it's so epic, it has to be included. But thankfully he was fine. He wasn't hurt or anything, and the equipment was fine as well. I just remember in the moment looking at him and thinking of that one lawyer meme, except in this version, like a cameraman version. Like, look at my cameraman dog. My film's getting corrupted. But he really did end up doing a great job. And it was my fault that he was backed into the corner in the first place. So sorry, babe. Love you. But yeah, after we finished, we went to put our equipment up and also had some time to look around and talk with them. This is when we got that footage of the common area I showed earlier in the video, and when I was really able to appreciate just all the merch surrounding me. It was really nice being able to talk to them afterwards too. Everybody there was so friendly and welcoming. They also brought out this Chinese exclusive merchandise that was all based on Kodaka. It was so cute and goofy. They had some plushies of him and some merch of him posing like the characters in 100 Line, like him making a decision like Takumi, him performing a finishing blow, and him preparing a special attack. It was really cute. They also had these goofy pins where he doodled Takumi and Edo, and I just love how they're always together in merch. I got to take pictures of both of them and give them the gift bags that I made. And something that will always just kind of be burned into my brain is that when I gave Kodaka his gift basket, I remember he got really excited about the Pop Rocks. I was just like, Kodaka lore updated. He loves Pop Rocks, which honestly, based. Pop Rocks are like an S tier candy. Also during this time, they showered me with gifts. They gave us all the signed 100 Line Last Defense Academy postcards, and Kodaka drew Side on them. And then Koizumi wrote Weeby Newz-san at the top. I was like, that's me. That's my username. Every time I look at this, it just like blows my mind that this actually happened. I keep thinking about when I first made my channel and I came up with that silly username based on an inside joke between me and my best friend. And I keep thinking about my first video when I was like whispering while recording in my dorm room, hoping not to wake up my roommates. I just can't believe that little username has made it this far. Kodaka also gave me a copy of Raincode for the PS5 and a limited edition box set of Raincode for the Switch, which just like flabbergasted me. I was so happy though, because I really wanted this box set when it first released because it came with a Shinigami plushie, but I think when I tried to get it, it had already sold out or something. So it really meant a lot to finally have it, and to receive it from Kodaka himself was just incredible. I feel a little bad though, because like I said, I wanted this box set because it came with the Shinigami plushie, and it's like, on one hand, I want to like open it up officially and get her out, but on the other hand, I wanted to stay in like pristine condition. So sorry, Shinigami, you might be in here for a while. Fifi came up to me as well and said that they told us we could take any of the merch in the common area as a gift, and my jaw dropped. I ended up not taking anything though, because I really didn't want to overstay my welcome or like take advantage of their kindness. I didn't want to be like, okay, cool, let me just take that $500 Chiaki figurine over there. Like, I didn't want to be disrespectful and just like start going shopping. Honestly, the main thing I was really tempted to take though was that Kokichi plush at the very front. He was literally greeting you when you walked through the door though. So I was like, what if this was their favorite plushie? And then I took it, so I just didn't take anything. I was probably overthinking things, but I just really wanted to leave a good impression. So I just decided to play it safe. When I told my husband afterwards that they said this though, he was so mad. He was like, you should have at least asked if you could take something, but I was nervous. I also just felt like I'd received so much too with like the Raincoat box set and like the signed postcard. I just didn't want to be greedy. But yeah, after talking for a bit, we headed out. And right after we walked out of the door, I remember all four of us looking at each other, just being like, oh my God, did that really just happen? It really felt like a dream. But yeah, we said goodbye to Fifi and her husband, and then rushed home to make sure all the footage was intact. And we also backed it up like 3 times, especially for the now broken camera. Once that was finished, I went to Akihabara to celebrate with some shopping and some good food. I also posted on my Instagram story that night that I did a video in Japan. And it was so funny because I remember people liking it, and I was like, I bet they all think that I just like filmed a vlog or something in Akihabara. Little do they know where I just was. It reminded me of that one meme of like that guy in the corner at a party thinking like, they don't know, I just did an interview at Tokyo Games. But yeah, that's the story. I want to thank all of you for watching my videos and supporting me over the years. I mean, really and truly, this never would have happened if it wasn't for you guys supporting me and my channel. So I am so grateful for all of you. I started this channel 10 years ago as a passion project just because I loved Danganronpa so much, and never in my wildest dreams would I expect to ever get an opportunity like this. One of my favorite memories of my channel is the day after I posted my first video. I remember logging in and seeing that I had gained like 5 subscribers, and I remember being so happy. Back then, I never expected to get 1,000 subscribers, let alone 10,000 or 100,000. So thank you guys so much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for sharing my analysis videos and using them for character breakdowns or general discussions. Thank you for watching the Let's Plays and the streams. It's been so fun to play some of my favorite games of all time now alongside you guys. And thank you for watching my reaction videos. It was really scary to branch out at first, but now I'm so glad that I did. And I've gotten into a lot of other great franchises because of it. And I've been able to share my love for music and musical theater with you guys, which has just been a blast. And overall, thank you guys so much for 10 years on YouTube. When I officially got this interview, it was right around the 10-year anniversary of my channel, and it really just made me so grateful for how far this channel has come and all the love and support you guys have shown it over the years. Like I said, this really and truly would not have been possible without you. I'm so grateful that this is my job, and I'm so grateful that I've gotten to meet you guys through it. But yeah, I'll stop being cheesy. I just want to let you guys know how much I appreciate you and how much I recognize that this would not be possible without your help. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you'll look forward to my future videos, and I hope you'll look forward to Tokyo Games' newest projects. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you real soon.